And now, live from the studios of WHUC, this is Real Talk, where we get you something to talk about.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us on today's Real Talk. I'm your host, Kai Beard. Usually there are 28 days in the month of February, but there are 29 days this year. You may ask, how? Well, in 2024, there's a leap year. And joining us today is English instructor and humanities chair, Mr. Dan Fuller. How are you today, Mr. Dan Fuller?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm well. Okay, so what is a leap year and why is it necessary?
Well, we think about years having 365 days, right? Mm-hmm. But actually, there are 365.24 days per year. And this has to do with the way that the Earth travels around the sun. Can I show you with my little prop?
Sure.
So if we have the Earth here, right, say this is the sun, a year is the distance that it takes, or the amount of time it takes for the Earth to go around the sun, right? So because that's 365.24 days, if we didn't have a leap day to adjust the calendar, then the days would get off, right? Our calendar would get out of sync.
Okay. How does the additional of an extra day in the leap year affects the calendar and the timekeeping of the system?
Sure. Well, Julius Caesar in 45 BCE decided that to move the calendar system to a solar calendar that would track, with the 12 months of the year. And in 45 BC, he added this leap day, right? Every 4 years we have a leap day. That kind of resets the calendar. And so that system works really well, but it's not precise because there's not 365.25 days, it's 0.24. And so over time, the calendar got out of sync. And it wasn't until 1582 that they made an additional correction to the way it was calculated.
That's really interesting to understand. Why do we have leap years and how do they actually come about?
So the way that we calculate a leap year, it normally is every 4 years, but that change that happened, I was telling you about, Pope Gregory in 1582 tweaked the system a little bit to say that it's not just every 4 years, it's also, we'll have a leap day, we're going to skip leap days on years that end in 100 on the century marks, unless that is a year that's divisible by 400. So for example, the year 1900 did not have a leap day, the year 2000 did have a leap day. Okay.
So what are some historical origins of the concept of the leap year?
Sure. So you have Julius Caesar in 45 that set that system up, and that kind of built that the whole concept, around every 4 years. Pope Gregory switches this in 1582 to the Gregorian calendar, and it took a little while for everyone to adopt the Gregorian calendar, but that's the calendar that we use today is the Gregorian calendar. So that dates, the calculation that we use for it today dates to 1582.
And you was talking about that every 4 years that we have a leap year. So how does leap year impact the vision field, such as the astronomy and the mathematics and scheduling the whole thing? Right.
Well, it's kind of a quirk of the calendar. Calendars are human inventions, right? The birds don't look at a calendar to see when it's time to migrate, or trees don't check Google to see when it's time to put their flowers out. That's something that humans create to keep track of the way that the time is working. And so the system with leap days, it's really just a way to make sure that the days stay in sync. A lot of it had to do with the tracking for Easter and other holidays. If leap day wasn't put into place, you would have the holidays begin to shift. So like Christmas would eventually be celebrated in the summer, or Easter might shift into July, or at least the temperature would feel like July when that shifted. So leap day is a way just to keep the calendar, it resets the calendar every 4 years for that additional time that we have for the amount of time that the Earth takes to go around the sun.
Well, we're having a wonderful time here with Mr. Dan Fuller. We'll be right back after this break.
Real Talk will be right back after this.
Are you ready to join the Welding and Cutting Technology Department at Hinds Community College Utica campus? The Hinds Utica Welding Program trains students to be proficient in a number of welding techniques. In the welding program at Hinds Utica, students prepare for entry-level employment in the field of welding and cutting. The program highlights field and shop safety, MIG welding, TIG welding, flux cord welding, and shear metal welding skills, basic blueprint reading, and more. The welding program also provides students with the time and space necessary to develop their skills in order to gain entry-level employment in the welding field. So don't delay. Come to Hinds Utica today and begin your career in welding.
And now, Real Talk continues.
Welcome back and thank you for joining us. Now, Mr. Dan Fuller, I understand that you were born on a leap year, and it's a special day for you. So how old would you be this year?
Well, so this is actually my 48th year around the sun, but it's my 12th birthday.
Well, Mr. Fuller, you don't look any younger. Now, how do you celebrate your birthday? Do you celebrate it on the 28th or March 1st, doing a non-leap year?
Well, when I was younger, I really didn't like being born on a leap day, so I would celebrate both days and claim it all. I would write in on the calendar the 29th and just, make a weekend of it. But now that I've gotten older and I'm not as excited about birthdays, I just save them up and wait until the 29th.
And I understand that you have your family, you celebrate with your family. So how do you celebrate it with your family, like with your kids and your wife? How do you celebrate it with them? Yeah,
well, for my 6th birthday, before my wife and I were married, my Lynn threw me a 6-year-old birthday party. She booked a bounce house, and we had jumpy houses, an arcade, a ball pit, Transformers, and cake, and all that kind of stuff. So that was a lot of fun. And my son is born on the 24th, and so a lot of times we'll combine birthdays, and so this year we both have a birthday, so that should be a lot of fun.
And that's so sweet how you celebrate with your family and your baby. That is very much fun. All right, so
they're older than I am now, so that's great.
Well, I understand that a lot of people don't celebrate their birthdays the way that you knew, but do you have any great memories or story relating to your of you being born on the leap year?
Well, the surprise parties, I think, would pop up now and then. For my 5-year-old, my 5th birthday, I was working at college radio station, and we heard that Channel 3 was going to do a story on Leap Day, and so there was a department store that was giving out $29 gift cards if you showed up, or gift certificates if you showed up. And so I went down and I was on TV. And so aside from being here on Real Talk, this was my previous claim to fame.
Well, that was an amazing part of you actually experiencing that, and also you have fun. So one last question. What is some advice for certain people that are celebrating their birthday on a leap year? What some advice would you give them? Yeah, well, I think that it's great to embrace it, to have fun. There are all kinds of festivals that you can go to. There's one in Anthony, Texas, that's the Leap Day capital of the world. They have a big parade every year, and you can be, every leap year, you can be a grand marshal in the parade by going there. But I think you should do what I did as a kid and write it in on every calendar. If you ever see a calendar that says the 28th, write it in. This year, I found out that the campus is throwing a really big event for the 29th, and I assume it's for me. They're calling it the Tech Expo, but I really think that's a Dan Fuller party. So. All right. Thank you, Mr. Fuller, for joining us today. And thank you guys for joining us. We had, for a Real Talk, we had Mr. Dan, oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for joining us today for a Real Talk with English instructor and humanities chair, Mr. Dan Fuller. Until next time.